up guys, it's Amanda and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today's video is talking all about the supplies I'm using for Inktober 2017. Now at this point we're already almost 2 weeks into Inktober, and this video is a little late to some people because a lot of people did this video right at the start of Inktober and they sort of released it prior to when they started posting daily. But in my case, I really wanted to make sure I knew what supplies I was going to be using every single day before hopping on camera and telling you guys everything that I would be using, and then halfway through realize that I didn't use most of those things. So I kind of wanted to test the waters a little bit and see what I wanted to experiment with during this whole month-long challenge. It's interesting how when we limit our supplies, we all of a sudden find new and interesting ways to sort of reuse them and find multiple purposes for one product. So that's kind of what Inktober has been for me. Now, I'm not saying that I will strictly adhere to only these products. I might pull in a few extra things here and there, but you never know. And I usually list the materials on my daily posts. And if you aren't following along with my daily Inktober posts, be sure you're following me on Instagram, Twitter, and Patreon. I'm posting daily on all of those places. By the way, it's free to follow me on Patreon. It's just sort of like a donation only thing right now. And you can also follow my Store Envy store because I am updating all of my Inktober pieces to be available as small and large prints. There's also a couple of other Halloween goodies on the Store Envy store, and there's the coupon code. You can find more information about that down below. But before I start self-promoing until the end of time, let's get into the Inktober supplies, shall we? Alright guys, so let's break down the supplies I use. Now I'm going to be kind of talking about these in the order of how often I use them and how important they are to me during this month. And let's start with the foundation. Where every Inktober piece starts for me is the sketch. I do sketch out my Inktober pieces, which some people think that's cheating, but honestly, whatever. I like a little bit of a foundation in my Inktober sketches, and usually I'll go in with a super light color like this, which is the No Photocopy blue color, and then I'll go in with a slightly darker pencil to refine the details and then leave the rest up to the ink. So I do give myself a lot of freedom, even though I do sort of sketch them out initially, but this is just what I use, and I wanted to mention it because, you know, I feel like I'd be leaving out a huge part of the process if I didn't. Next, the single most important tool for me during the month of Inktober, the Pentel Pocket Brush Pen. It doesn't look like much, but honestly, this pen and I have a very long and romantic relationship. I love this pen so much, and I actually will be doing a video very soon on how to refill this pen and a cheaper alternative to the Pentel refills, so stay tuned for that. That video is coming next week. But this pen is like my favorite brush pen of all time. I love the control that I can get with it. I can get super thick lines, super thin lines, and I can really block in areas very easily with this pen. The only fault is how quickly it uses the ink, which is why I've developed a few alternative methods to buying the Pentel refills. And again, that's next week's video, so I'm not going to spoil any of that for you. Another brush pen I've been using a lot is the Pentel Aquash pen, and this one is filled with a mixture of India ink and water. It's honestly pretty diluted with water, even though it doesn't look like it. And I find that once you dilute the India ink to a certain extent, it really doesn't get significantly lighter, and then it also doesn't build on itself very well. You can get a couple of shades, but this is really nice for just adding basic washes. You can see it does have a nice contrast between the white of the paper and the black of the Pentel Pocket Brush Pen, which is nice. It gives you a little bit of variety, although I do wish it was just a little bit lighter, but I will talk about how I will compensate for that in a moment. I also picked up a second Pentel Aquash pen. This one doesn't currently have anything in it. The bristles are a little bit stained, but they are clean, and I really enjoy these. I think that the tip is super tapered, and I can get really fine lines and details with them, which is why I felt the need to pick up a second one that wasn't full of India ink, because I do find that for the most part I like having the option of having this around and then also having an additional one that isn't filled with anything, because this is pretty much just like my medium gray brush pen. I don't really consider it an aquash pen anymore, even though that is what it was to start out with. So I like to have this one on hand as well, and even though they're a little on the pricey side, I do use it, so I feel like it's worth the money. If you are looking for a cheaper alternative though, I did find this brush pen at Michael's. This was about $2, and this is from the brand Marvy, M-A-R-V-Y. I don't think the tip is as tapered. This is a smaller brush size as well, but I do think that it will work for what I want to use it for, and again, it's nice to just have these sort of pens for when you're on the go. And I do like the cap on this one better because it does have this little clasp thing, and I do like sort of the structure of this pen a little more. It's a little bit longer, but overall it is thinner, whereas the aquash pens are kind of a weird bulbous shape here in the middle. I don't know, it doesn't really affect it in your hand that much, but if you're trying to carry this somewhere, this doesn't always fit into like those little loops in pencil cases and stuff, so I don't know, that's a very nitpicky observation, but I did just want to mention that I did pick this up. I haven't really used it yet, but I think I'm going to use it to swatch out some of the inks in this video, so that might give me a good idea of how I feel about it. Just one final brush pen though. This is the Pentel Art Brush, and it's in the shade Pink. I saw Audra Leclerc use this in a video, and she's way better at using it than I am. I don't feel like I have that much control with it, and if you try and do like fast strokes, it just gets kind of patchy. But it is a really cool color, and I used this in my Mean Girls illustration, which obviously was very fitting, and it is fun to use, so I'm glad I have it, although it's not really something that I use in my everyday artwork. Now, it wouldn't be Inktober without inks. Now, I have a couple here. Most of these are new to me, but some of them are old favorites, and I kind of just want to go through them all with you. So the first one is this Dr. P.H. Martin's Bombay Black India ink. This is an old favorite. I've had this for a long time, and I've barely made a dent in it. I think I've had this for like 2 years, and I'm like less than a third of the way through it. So I've used this for a long time. I do find it to be super handy. I love that it has the little dropper built in, super helpful, and you'll find out why in my video next week where I talk about refilling the Pentel Pocket Brush Pen. Was that too much of a spoiler? Maybe. Whatever. There's going to be 2 alternatives in that video, so I just definitely recommend sticking around to watch it, because there are 2 cheaper alternatives that I have to offer you if you're trying to refill your own brush pens. So yeah, anyway, I do like this. It's a Black India ink. You guys can pretty much guess what it looks like. I'm a big fan of this, although it's not entirely Copic proof, but it is perfect for Inktober, or if you just do your line work after you're coloring. This is the Daler-Rowney, not really sure how to say that. This is an acrylic ink. I picked this up at Michael's not too long ago after I saw Terry recommend this in one of her videos, and this is in the color Red Earth. I used this in my Kiki's Delivery Service illustration, which was part of the Scribble Challenge that I did, and quickly fell in love with this product, and I knew I had to get more right then and there, and so I did. I picked up this one in Red Earth first, and let me just kind of like swatch it for you guys so you guys can kind of get a feel for the color. Hopefully I can do this without making a mess. So that's what that looks like. It's a super warm, obviously reddish brown, and I enjoy it quite a lot. One of the other things that I do is I have these little bottle caps with me so that when I use inks and stuff, I can just put a couple of drops into a bottle cap and then dip into that rather than having, sorry if you guys can hear the plane. I like to do that rather than having the ink just sitting out in the bottle and having the cap off, and I also prefer this to just having them in like an open palette because it takes up way more space. So I just use bottle caps, and I think that that totally works. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I just have a little bit of water in there now so that I can dry off my brush. that might be as good as we get it for now, but that's okay. I'll clean it better after. The second color that I picked up is in Crimson. This is again from Daler-Rowney. I'm just going to give it a good shake. I'm dipping here. I haven't seen what this one looks like on paper yet, so I'm pretty excited. That is a very nice pinkish red. It's a little bit more sheer than I would have thought. Although, so is the red earth color. I think it just sort of is dark enough that it doesn't feel as sheer. But yeah, I think that red color will be really cool for just adding pops of color into a couple of my Inktober pieces, which is definitely why I wanted a red. And just given the selection of reds that were available at my Michaels, I feel like this was the best option. And again, I love that these have the little droppers built in. The last Daler-Rowney ink that I have is the shade Sepia. Give this a good shake. Let's see how much darker this is. Alright, it looks pretty dark. Ooh, that is very nice. I like this shade a lot. I feel like I will get a lot of use out of that personally. So I'm very excited. I am totally making a mess over here, but that's okay. And so far, actually, this brush pen is performing better than I thought. The frayed bristles, when I first opened it, have sort of stuck together now, and it does come to a really fine point. So this is actually, I think, a really good alternative to the Pentel Aquash pens. And the last ink that I have is this Liquitex ink. This is Neutral Gray 5. This is sort of, hopefully, my answer to not having the India ink be as light as I would like it to be. So we're going to see what this looks like. I'm very unsure about it, but hopefully it'll be nice. Let's see. I'm going to swatch it by that swatch of the India ink too. Ooh. So it's a much more like milky opacity. It's not as like sheer and grainy. It's got a little bit of a brown tint to it from the other inks, which obviously normally wouldn't happen. But I do like that. I think that that's going to be a really good alternative to using just the ink washes, because this is obviously much lighter to begin with, and then if I just added a little bit of water in the bottle cap to this, I think this would give me some really good variety. So I'm really excited to have this actually, and this is my first time trying Liquitex inks. I've never tried those before. So really happy with this brush pen. Obviously I have to clean it off before I use it again, just because the red earth color especially really stains the bristles, but I do like this. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about were gel pens, because I do use these a lot in my Inktober pieces, particularly a standard white gel pen. I think this is always good to have. I recently picked up the Uniball Signo white gel pen. I hear people talk about this a lot and that they prefer it to the Sakura gel pen. I'm not really sure if I have a preference. I haven't used this one enough, but I do have other Uniball gel pens that I enjoy a lot, and I have one in gold and in silver. I also have a video coming up very soon talking about my favorite gold accent tools. And just a little hint, this is definitely among them. So let me just kind of swatch these for you. So that's what the gold looks like, and I'll do kind of an up-close shot and show you the shift as well. And then I have the silver. So these are a really great way to add some very controlled, simple shine to your illustrations. You can see they are highly, highly reflective, and they're just super convenient because they are already in a pen form. You don't have to worry about dealing with a brush or diluting it with water or anything like that, and they are very opaque, so I do enjoy these quite a lot. Now, just to reiterate the point that I made in the beginning, these may not be the only tools that I use throughout the month of Inktober, but these are the ones that I've been reaching for the most, particularly the Pentel Pocket Brush Pen and the Aquash Pen, although I do think I'm going to start dabbling some more in these Daler-Rowney inks as the time goes on. But this is just to give you an idea of what I use. Obviously, you don't have to use what I use, and I don't always recommend you use what I use. Definitely use what you think is going to be best for you. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of insight into what I'm doing this month. And for me, this is a very limited set of tools. Usually I have way more tools and way more colors than this, but it's been fun working with a limited color palette, and I actually think that it's working pretty well for me, and I'm enjoying it a lot. That's it. Those are the main supplies that I've been sticking to for the month of Inktober, if you will. Let me know what you guys have been using. I'm really curious, and I think part of the reason that these videos are so appealing is that it's interesting to see what other people sort of lean towards when they have to limit their supplies for an entire month. And I've personally very much enjoyed watching other people's videos like this, and hopefully you guys enjoy this one too. That is it for me today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you Friday with a brand new Halloween video. I'll see you guys then. Bye!